All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to Conversations from the Couch. I am Dina and I am your host of the Willow Tree Summit, as you likely already know. I am the lucky gal that gets to interview the lovely and talented Barb Thornton. She is a part of our very special Conversations from the Couch series. The Conversations from the Couch sessions are an important part of the Willow Tree Summit, as it's the time and the space where we hear from actual warriors as we discuss the topics of the summit, essentially. Barb has seriously stepped up to take on the task of listening to all of the sessions. And so we are going to pick her brain today. So Barb is proud of her 4 sons, their significant others, and is a grandmother to 2 precious little ones, a chronic pain warrior and advocate. She has a complicated medical history and an intimate relationship with chronic pain for over 20 years. Barb has not only defied death, but has survived other forms of trauma, the big T type, and many other events in her life she had dismissed as bad luck, unfortunate, or poor judgment, and often refers to the black cloud that follows her. She often said, if it is going to happen, it will happen to me. Fairly recently, she began to recognize that many of these bad luck incidents were in fact little T traumas, and credits Gabor Mate, who we love, and the Change Pain Academy for this revelation. For 20 years, Barb has been writing as a form of therapy and documenting overcoming obstacles and frustrations far too common to those who live with chronic pain. She has always said that if even one thing she has figured out can help even one other person, it has been worthwhile. She just didn't know how to make that come true. Barb is a lifelong learner and is doing the work to radically change her understanding of pain, and as a result is now mentoring other warriors inside and outside of the Change Pain Academy. Barb has drawn on her transferable skills from her career in business and is turning them into skills that support her purpose. She's a blogger dedicated to warriors, chronic pain mentor, and is the co-creator of Cwtch, which is our amazing community of chronic pain warriors. So as an advocate, Barb has been working really hard on an awesome initiative to increase awareness of the chronic pain experience. This is big. So be sure to stay to the end to hear our exciting announcement. Barb, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Dina, for letting me say
No problem.
warrior's eyes.
Yeah, no, it is honestly my favorite part of the whole series, because this is, and I know I've mentioned this before, but this is the secret sauce. This is what it's all about. And like you have always said, warriors learn more from other warriors. So yeah. Yep. All right. Yeah, it's an important voice. So for whatever you are comfortable sharing, can you tell our listeners a little bit about your backstory?
Okay, well, I'm going to start partway through my life, because if I went back to the beginning, we'd be here all night, and nobody wants that. So in about 2004, I was diagnosed. I started having seizures, which is very unusual in your 40s to start having seizures. And I was a busy mom of 4 kids and 2 stepsons and running with hockey and building my career, traveling, and the seizures started. And for a long time, I didn't say anything. And then I got really hurt and kind of had to fess up. And I was diagnosed with left temporal lobe epilepsy. It stopped my life. My license was gone. The concoction of medications just turns you into mush. I lost my career. I got very depressed. It interrupted what was a very happy life and just changed everything from that day forward. My oldest was already living life on his own, and my 3 youngest were all going off to college or university that year. So I became an empty nester. And that following Valentine's Day, I got an email from my husband at the time that said, Barb, I can no longer be married to someone who's sick. I'm going my own way. And he signed his name. And I never saw him again except in a courtroom. So it was pretty shocking. And I fell into a very deep depression and tried to figure out living life on my own. I had some very bad seizures in some very unfortunate places and caused some pretty significant injuries, broken vertebrae, herniated discs, all kinds of, nasty things that come back to bite you later in life as well, with arthritic conditions. And I was also a migraine sufferer. And the depression just got worse and worse and worse. And the pain became more and more widespread throughout my body till practically everything hurt. It was random. Sometimes it would be, my right arm and shoulder. Sometimes it would be. So they added fibromyalgia to my diagnosis. I also suffer from a very erratic hyperthyroid condition. So that complicates things one step further.
Right. Yeah.
It took 5 years for them to get me on the right concoction of medications to control my seizures. So that was like 5 years hiatus from my life, and then trying to rebuild from there alone. I began the long, hard process to try and put my life back together. And I saw my therapist regularly. I took classes to try and learn everything I could learn about depression and anxiety and all of those things, because I'm one of these people, kind of sciencey like Dina. If I can understand it, I can figure out how to work with it and around it or overcome it. So I focused on learning and got myself back to a relatively good place in life. But I still had these vague symptoms that kept coming and going, like episcleritis, which is when the whites of your eyes look more like a vampire. There's no pain. There's just these red eyes. And just throughout my body, various vague symptoms over the years that would stick around for a while and then go away. And the doctors would kind of go, oh, well, that's over. But all along, they kept adding diagnosis after diagnosis. And I kept saying to my family, I do not believe there are 400 things wrong with me. There is something that links this all together. And it's been a real battle, and I'm still not quite to the other side of that yet, but we're getting closer. In 2016, I remained single intentionally for a very long time after that email. But in 2016, I met an amazing man, the love of my life. It was my own fairy tale. It truly was. And we dated for a while. We spent a lot of time together, and we decided to lease his condo out and renovate mine. So the renovations were completed in December of 2018, and life was wonderful. Despite chronic pain, life was wonderful. He was one of the rare people on earth that, although he didn't suffer from chronic pain, he got it. He listened. He read my body language, and somehow he just made things better. On January 25th, 5 weeks later, he was taking our dog for a walk while I was making breakfast. He fell, hit his head, 3 significant brain bleeds, and 4.5 weeks later, he was gone. And that was the single most devastating moment of my entire life. I still don't understand how someone can fall from their own height and without a mark, a bump, a bruise, a scratch, and their life ends. I will never comprehend that. So I was consumed with guilt, consumed with the depression escalated. I was in a really, really bad place, to the point that for several weeks, my kids weren't comfortable with me being alone. I found a really good grief therapist who I adore, and perhaps she's watching. And she helped me rebuild once again my life. I got back to sort of where I was before all of this started, although life with chronic pain was so much harder without him by my side. So much harder. The challenges are completely different. Then in December of 2019, so the same year, 9 months after he passed, I was found unconscious in my bed by a very dear friend of mine, who got me to the hospital, and I was diagnosed with a bowel obstruction, kidney failure, and sepsis. And I'm very lucky to still be here. I couldn't have done it without being surrounded by the love of my family. And I knew I just knew I wasn't my time yet, and I fought. I was released from the hospital, and 2 or 3 weeks later, COVID hit,
Mm,
and no one could come near me because the sepsis had destroyed my immune system.
right.
So I faced this recovery alone with virtual help from my family, with virtual help from close friends and from my therapist.
Mm,
But the day-to-day life of recovering from such an illness, I did alone.
mm,
Um, I sold my house. I moved 2.5 hours away to a community of, it's a called active adult lifestyle, and it depends on the day how active I am, but and it's a wonderful community on the shores of Lake Huron where I feel very included and loved and safe despite my challenges, and there's always someone willing to help. So it was a very good outcome for me. But the sepsis and kidney failure has left me with more issues to deal with. Um, one is a very rare kidney syndrome, which causes, it's difficult for me to sit. So if you notice me wiggling, it's not because I'm bored, it's because it hurts.
yes.
It's basically a neuropathic kidney condition that feels very much like I have a kidney stone all the time, 24 hours a day. So it's learning to, again, rebuild my life and learn to live with that degree of pain. The other issues all still exist, and those random symptoms keep coming and going. So we're not quite there yet, but I will get there.
Right. Well, for our listeners, this is exactly why we have you here, because you have not only a story to tell, but you also have so much insight to give, because you have been really digging deep to figure all this stuff out, right? And that is golden as far as those nuggets. And that's why I'm so excited about the conversations from the couch more than anything. I mean, hey, we get to connect too, but
Yes.
you just got a big heart from one of our participants, from Linda.
Linda. Hi, Linda.
Thank you, Linda, for that. That's amazing. So Barb, I'm a little reluctant to ask this, but I'm only asking because it is such a great story. But if you can tell our listeners a little bit how we met, if you feel
Oh,
comfortable with
this is
that.
a great story. So I've been seeing the same pain specialist for 15 years at the time. And for the very first time at my last appointment, which is 3 years ago, probably, he started throwing out all these terms and words I'd never heard of before. He was talking about the pain gate theory of chronic pain and nociception and all these words I'd never heard. And like I said, I'm a bit sciencey and I have to understand. So I came home and I got on Google, and like it's all either academic level papers that I couldn't understand or garbage or unreliable.
Mhm.
And there's all kinds of Facebook groups for chronic pain, which I tend to avoid because I find that most of them are just ranting, venting. They're not really seeking help. They're seeking an outlet, which everyone needs.
Right.
I'm not knocking that.
Right.
But what I needed was information.
Mhm.
So I posted in this group of 30 or 40,000 people, has anyone ever been recommended a book that explains in terms that we can understand the science of chronic pain? And no one in the group answered me.
Mhm.
And I was shocked. And I think it was the next day I got this DM from someone named Dina that said, how sciencey of a book are you looking for? I might be able to help. And we chatted back and forth on DM for a little while, and then she called me. And I think we talked for about 3 hours that night. And here we are.
Here we are. And the reason I bring it up, and I mean, I love the story, but also I think it's important that the key points there are the Facebook groups are so big and some of them offer some great insight, some of them don't. Yes, it's a great outlet for venting, but it's amazing what connections you can create. And I think those meaningful connections are really, really valuable, especially in recovery. So thank you for sharing that.
Well, the odds of us meeting were quite astronomical, and the fact that we align so, like our the way we think and what we see for the future aligns so well is
Right.
it was fate.
It was pretty cool. Well, I remember asking you, so, No, I didn't even ask you. You brought it up. You said it. Yeah, I have a vision. I have a dream that I've wanted to work towards. And so now you're doing
Yeah.
it. Amazing. So
Yeah.
we'll get into that for sure, because I want to expand on that a little bit more. But well, actually, that's a perfect segue. I would love for our listeners to know all the cool stuff you've been doing in the last couple of months.
Well, it's been more like the last 10 years, but anyways.
Well, that too, yes.
So like I said, I clawed my way through all kinds of situations, from getting turned down for disability insurance to a divorce to, financial pressures to you name it.
Yeah.
I've been, I've seen a lot of ground, and I had like file folders of these hand scratched notes that some of them, I had to turn this way and that once I found them again to read. But they were all things that I had learned, or I had figured out, or I had, if I can make my own ice bags using this, or I can, or things that were missing. Like, why isn't there, and I write. I love to write. And I find writing very, very therapeutic. I've never shared my writing with anyone, but I do write, and I love to write. I don't write in sequence. It's like all over the place, but I do really love to write. So after meeting Dina and discussing my dream and my passion, and hers, we settled on the name Cwtch, which has a very, very deep meaning. And we'll get to that later. Mm-hmm. But so I started digging out those file folders and booting up my old laptop and finding all of these nuggets that I've saved over the last 10 years and trying to organize them, which I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. And then I thought, okay, now I've got all this stuff. What am I going to do with it? So I love a challenge, and when my body fails me, my brain usually doesn't. Sometimes it does, but usually doesn't. So I can take my laptop on the couch or in my recliner or in my bed, whatever. And I decided I was going to build a website. And the website is called Find Your Cwtch. And the content is by warriors for warriors. Mm-hmm. So I also have a Facebook group by the same name. And I'm going to begin to share the writing that I've done and collecting writing from other warriors. Yep. Whoever has figured stuff out, whoever wants to share send them on in. Let's get this community strong.
Yeah, amazing. And just for our listeners, to create a website is a huge undertaking.
Oh, yeah.
Huge undertaking, huge learning curve, right?
They say it's easy. It is not easy.
It's not easy. No. It took me years, Barb. It took you months. So that just goes to show your intelligence.
And their tutorials are all geared to the business package, which is very expensive. And I, went with the freebie stuff because I'm a warrior and, don't have the money. But anyway, so it was trying to decipher those. So please don't be too critical of the website. Just remember, I knew nothing, and it is what it is.
Honestly, and that's part of the reason we're bringing it up, is because it's really well done, and I will say that honestly. So okay, and your Facebook group, you're also doing some mentoring too, which is great. We'll talk a little bit more about that to me is one of the things I get really excited about. But before we get there, just back to your website. When I was poking around in there, I saw a beautiful quote, and I'm going to read it to our listeners because it just is perfect. And it goes like this: "The most beautiful people we have known are those who have known defeat, known suffering, known struggle, known loss, and have found their way out of the depths. These persons have an appreciation, a sensitivity, and an understanding of life that fills them with compassion, gentleness, and a deep loving concern. Beautiful people do not just happen." Oh, that was from Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. Okay, so how did this, when you first read that quote, how did it resonate with you? What were the emotions that came up?
That quote was sent to me about 10 years ago.
Really?
From a friend that I went back to school as an adult, mm-hmm. and to university as an adult. And it was a friend that I had met at university who knew my struggles. And he actually sent me that, and he has now passed as well. But that quote has stayed with me forever.
Yeah.
And the note he sent with it. But it's just true.
Yeah. It's
People
beautiful.
who have been through stuff
Mm,
just have a different appreciation for
right.
life, for others, for kindness, for compassion. I just find it's just so true.
Yeah, it is probably one of the most stunning quotes I've ever read. So I just wanted to include it in the conversation for whoever needed to hear those words right now. Okay, before I ask my next big question, I want to just say a very big thank you. I know I started off that way, but it is a really big ask of me to listen to, for you to listen to all of the workshops, especially with a flair presenting itself. So thank you so much. So let's dive into some of the key points that you pulled from the summit.
Okay.
Okay, number one, what was the first thing?
Okay. The biggest message that rang through every single speaker is that pain is always real and it is always valid.
Right.
And that is a message the chronic pain community does not hear in the current medical model.
Right. And what?
So, my friends, it is always real and it is always valid.
Right. And that speaks beautifully to what the community traditionally hears, which is it's all in your head, right? Yeah, which makes them feel like their pain is not real.
That's right. And it's real.
And it's real. Yeah. Who chooses this? Really? That's
Exactly.
the question. Okay, so pain is always real and always valid. I love it.
Yes.
Number two.
Pain is intended to protect us.
Mm-hmm.
It is instinctive.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a construct of our conscious mind.
Right. Good. Yes, that's a big one. Big one. And yes, that was so many of our speakers brought that forward without any prompting, without that's just so overlying themes here are really, really important. And you're hitting them all perfectly. Okay. What else did you?
That one was very validating for me because we know our pain is real.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more frustrating than the medical model telling us it's not.
For sure. For sure. I mean, if we expand upon that and talk about how the brain perceives just a doctor's appointment, oh, Michelle just had clapping hands. Yep. Thank you, Michelle. The brain is going to perceive that as I'm not safe. I'm not in tune with my own body. I'm not being heard. There's so many emotions that come from that. They don't believe me. It just goes on and on and on. So yeah, it is. But I think what's really important is this flipping of the narrative, so most of our community is hearing that. And I know that you are working on a list too, Barb, which I'm really excited about as far as the typical words that our community hears. And it just, brings out the emotions right off the bat. So, but when it comes to protection, if we can sort of flip the narrative to understand that pain is a protecting measure, trauma response is a protective measure, then we are starting from a completely different place.
Yes, for
And
sure.
then, right,
Absolutely.
our brain can kind of start to think, oh, okay, this I can work with.
Yep. The next one is, and this is a message I've gotten from you ever since I first met you, but every single speaker throughout the summit reconfirmed this. So although I always believed you, Dina, it's even more so now. And that message is that when it comes to pain, absolutely everything matters.
Yes. Okay, let's unpack that one a little bit.
Okay. So I've listened to a lot of podcasts from Dr. Rachel Hoffness, who is one of the world's leading pain scientists. Australia, right, Dina?
Oh, Dr. Softness is from New York.
Okay,
I'm
New
sorry,
York.
California. No, originally from New York. Now she's in California. Sorry.
Okay. The first two I watched were her with somebody called Mad Dog or something.
Yeah.
They were comical, but they were light, but that's what really hooked me was those two podcasts.
Yes.
And her line is pain is always biopsychosocial. So before I go any further, psycho is one of those words that's a hot button word
Right.
for pain warriors. right? Because psycho means
it's all in your head.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, in other words, the biopsychosocial explanation just really means that everything matters. And can I give a warrior's example so that okay.
Please do.
So acute pain, which is you break your leg, you have a ruptured appendix, it's always has a biological cause.
Mm-hmm.
It's an issue with the tissues, as Dina loves to say,
mm-hmm.
and it's protecting us. So when you break your leg and you cannot walk any further, it's telling you, don't walk, I'm trying to heal. Don't walk, you're going to do more damage. Your appendix is saying, there's a problem here, go to the doctor because something needs to happen. So it's intense, but that's the biological part, and there's always a component of that.
Always. Yes.
The psychological part is really misunderstood,
mm-hmm.
and it's really poorly presented by by the medical model and by many presenters, not the presenters at this summit, though, I must say. So the psychological really does not mean making it up.
Right.
It is not attention seeking. It is not any of those things.
Right.
It is subconscious memories you don't even know you have that associate a pain stimulus with a memory. Mm-hmm. And it shows through when at times you don't want it to, I guess is the best way of saying it. Yeah. So it's an association of something with pain. The easiest example I can think of is if you're out in your buddy's backyard playing, I don't know, touch football, and there's a pothole and you step in the pothole and you break your ankle, and you've been having a great day and your buddies all huddle around and they, get you to the hospital and you have a shattered ankle. It's going to hurt. There's no doubt it's going to hurt.
Right.
However, if you've worked a 12-hour shift and the guy that you're working with you don't particularly like, and you just want to get the heck out of there, and he leaves a rake across the floor that you fall and trip and break your ankle, shatter your ankle the exact same way that you did playing with your buddies, it's going to hurt a whole lot more.
Right.
And as that injury heals, in both cases, the healing process and the memory of that pain is in a positive situation as opposed to a 12-hour day and the guy you don't like left the rake and it's his fault. It's the healing process is different and the stored memory is different.
Right. Yes. Yep.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
I'm learning.
You are. No, that's the best way to retain it is when you can share that with others, right? So bravo.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
And then the social part is also very poorly understood and absolutely ignored in the medical model.
Right.
It doesn't mean going out and going to a dance. It doesn't mean going to the bar and hanging out with your friends. The social model is everything around you, your environment. Mm-hmm. An example would be, we'll go back to the broken ankle. Mm-hmm. So your broken ankle, regardless of the cause, you're sitting at home during the day knowing everyone around you's at work and there's nothing on TV, there's nothing good to read, you're sick of scrolling Instagram, and the pain in your ankle is going to scream at you and take all of your attention, all of it. And that is perfectly normal.
Right.
But then after work, your buddies stop by, bring a pizza, bring a 6-pack, and you all have a beer and a hunk of pizza. And you have a few laughs and you relax a little bit. And during that period of time, the screaming quietens. Mm-hmm. It quietens enough that you can generally enjoy the company you're with. Doesn't mean it's gone. Yeah. It doesn't mean you're healed. Yeah. It just means that your social environment is supporting a positive experience associated with that pain.
Exactly.
And then your buddies go home and they tell you they're all going out on Friday night, and Friday night rolls around and you can't go. Your pain is going to be screaming at you once again.
Exactly. Oh, yes. Great example. Great
So
example.
that's kind of how I look at the social. It's the people around you, the support you have, the environment that you're dealing with. It's all things outside of the biological and the psychological, which is also the part that I am most focused on.
Right. It goes to show, like you said earlier, that everything matters. And
Everything matters.
the biopsychosocial model just pulls it all together. And, you know, the more I learn about this, Barb, and you likely feel the same, the more it applies to everything: chronic illness, anxiety, depression, life in general. It's amazing.
I experienced it myself, with the difference of life with chronic pain with the love of my life, life with chronic pain without the love of my life.
Right.
I didn't realize that's what I experienced until I started learning, but I know now that it had a huge impact on the amount of pain I felt.
It did. And on both sides of the sword, right? The real joy that you felt that dialed down the pain, and then the real amplification of pain when you were in the grieving process.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is so hard. Okay. Well, thank you for bringing that great example in, because I think that's what is easier to understand than all the sciencey jargon stuff. So, okay, was there another point that you wanted to address from the summit?
Yes. Words matter. We are constantly being told by therapists, by coaches, by the speakers, that words matter. So I don't know how, but somehow I think I figured that out a long time ago, because I never say my pain. I say it's a big pain day, it's an okay pain day, or it's a good pain day. But on the flip side, words that practitioners and the medical model uses also matter.
Yeah. And
this goes back to, I'm collecting a list for any warriors out there of words that drive you crazy when a professional says these words to you. One of mine, I have many. One of mine is, sit with it. What the hell does that mean? You want me to cut it out of my brain or my heart and put my arm around it on the couch? Like, what the hell does that mean? But anyways, that's just one example, but there's all kinds of examples. A friend of mine who is also a chronic pain warrior, hers is, we're going to have you dancing out of here. Yeah, no, they're not.
Oh.
No, they're not. It's not possible. Or we're all, we're not 20, we're not 15, and they'll come in and say, well, young lady, like, come on. That is very condescending. It is very rude. Acknowledge us for the women that we are, for the lives we have lived.
Yeah.
There's so many.
So many.
Yeah. So I would like us, all of our warriors watching, and all of your warrior friends, to send me your words. Send me your words, because if we don't let them know what's pushing our buttons, then we're letting them push our buttons.
Truly. And I actually interviewed a gentleman who is a physiotherapist who's doing his PhD, pardon me, in really discovering more about those words. And physiotherapists are really, and I believe coaches too, are really helping to lead the way around the reframe. And then therapists who are chronic pain informed are also doing their best, because we're realizing how important they truly are. So let's keep that list going. I think that's amazing.
And I have one more, and this is more of a, just to be aware, I guess, and perhaps get your comments. So a lot of the presenters, not all of them, some of them were basically completely information based, which was wonderful. But some of them were practitioners that offer a service or a specific mode of therapy. And I just want to bring up the point that most chronic pain warriors do not have a lot of disposable income. They cannot afford $1,000 worth of therapy. And so while it's great to know the option is out there, there's got to be a way to get the nuggets out of that therapy and offer it in an affordable, comfortable, safe way for warriors to benefit from. Right.
No, and that's a really good point. And it was on my mind constantly when I was preparing this summit, because there's a fine line between overwhelming with information. There is a fine line between, like you said, expecting people to spend money when it's not necessarily an option. So I'm hoping that in some of the conversations that maybe one little thought or one little piece of the conversation tweaked a thought, not necessarily that you have to go seek care from that person, but that makes you take the path that you took, Barb, and many of the other people here as well, to start seeking out that information themselves. And that is hopefully the big game here. But you're absolutely right, especially knowing how many appointments chronic pain warriors have to sample, like throwing the spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks. It can be not only exhausting, frustrating, but extremely expensive as well. So
I do think that is another area though where warriors can help warriors.
Absolutely.
One of my goals, I've got so many, I don't know if we'll ever get there, but one of my goals is I'd like to have a section on my website where warriors can actually review products or, like what is the best heating pad? What is things like that? Because warriors spend a fortune trying to find what works for them.
Right.
Because there's no one else to ask.
Yeah.
So let's build that community so there are others to ask.
Yeah, other resources. Absolutely. No, I think that's a great one. Oh, Linda's got a comment here. Sorry, I'm just going to read it here. Linda's saying, sorry, first of all, Linda said, I know Barb, she's an overcomer, proud of her determination. Hugs. It saddens me that the medical community still responds to chronic pain this way. Maybe we need to hone our listening skills with authenticity. I love it. And finally, there's a dental clinic here held at the U of Alberta where dentists come in and run free clinics for people who can't afford much. It's a model of possibility. Just tossing that.
That's awesome. That's great news.
And Linda, I love your choice of words too. The model of possibilities. I think that's amazing.
Thank you, Linda.
We need more of that. That's for sure. Okay, Barb, lost my train of thought there because I just got goosebumps with what Linda was saying. But,
Linda has overcome a lot in her life too. Linda was very, very sick a year or 2 years ago, and she's a fighter. She's a wonderful woman, wonderful lady.
That's why I love hanging out with you people, because well, that sounds awful, with you lovely ladies, because honestly, the most intuitive group I've ever met. Michelle's given a big hug too. That's amazing. Honestly, I will say that until the day I die. All right. So this might be a bit of a tough question, but what sort of emotions showed up for you when you were tuning into some of these conversations?
Hope, first and foremost. Okay. Validation. Which is a huge one that chronic pain warriors are not used to. And it's just so good to hear that.
Yeah.
Sensitivity. The presenters were very sensitive to the life of a chronic pain warrior. For the most part, they were aware of the challenges. A lot of them faced challenges themselves, and that came across in their presentation very well. So it was sincere. Good. Possibilities, like just possibilities for the future. This is not the end. This is not how it has to stay. There's change to be done both within us, within our society, within our practitioners. So possibilities, I guess, would be a really big one. And gratefulness that you have hosted something that is never done for warriors. It's done for practitioners. It's done to learn new skills. It's not done for warriors. And this is a really amazing start to a long annual, at least, summit.
Yeah, definitely. We'll do this again because it was just, Michelle was clapping. Well done. Oh, well, I love the fact that you're using the word hope, because it could be really easy when you're listening to all of the workshops to get a little overwhelmed or to get discouraged, perhaps. I don't know. I think those were the things I was concerned, could pop up. But I love the fact that you're using the word hope, because I think, if anything, that is the message we want to give, right? So
it's also been very motivating for me to keep me going on my path here of, come on, warriors, we got to do this together.
Yes, absolutely. Honestly, I know you know this, Barb, but it is my vision to change the chronic pain community from within.
Yep,
You know,
definitely.
yeah, the outsiders are going to be a part of it, but I think the strongest voice is going to come from within. I think if I could just jump on the validation word for a second there, you had mentioned something during the summit that you had an aha moment around the validation. Do you remember what that was? I can give you some hints if you're, because I know
I can't, please.
we've had a lot of conversations. I know.
Did it have to do with trauma?
It was more to do with validation around things that you've been doing all along. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
I don't want this to sound like I'm a whiz kid or anything, but like I said, I've been collecting scraps of paper and random notes for over 10 years. And I have begun to try and organize it. I've begun posting my first article, and I was really shocked at how much of what was presented in the summit resides within those scraps of paper.
Yes.
I was shocked.
Yes.
It's sad that I had to figure it out the hard way, but
Mhm.
it's also very validating to know that I was at least on the right path and that it is a real issue that needs to be, or a real obstacle that needs to be overcome, and that there is a way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I got goosebumps when you said that the first time round and again tonight, because it goes to show how adaptable we really are, and how much credit we don't actually give ourselves.
Exactly. That, yes, that's a big
Right?
one.
Yeah.
I
And
know, I know a lot of chronic pain warriors,
yeah,
and one thing they don't do is give themselves enough credit for the
absolutely.
journey they have come.
Right.
And that also needs to change.
It does. Yep. So that is what we're doing. And if I could just use my husband as an example as well, he also born with a rare metabolic disorder, had to figure it out for himself. And I am still amazed at the work that he did, continues to do without any guidance whatsoever. You know, you just figure it out. However, there is a lot of stuff that you wish you would have known up front, right? And I think that's part of our
Yes.
mission is we need to get to our chronic pain community early on to be able to give them much of this information. So
And I don't think people realize just how big the chronic pain community is because we hide.
yes,
We are Oscar-winning actors and actresses. We, myself included, we present ourselves to the world very differently than we huddle on our couches with our ice bags and heating pads.
right.
So, you know, we're partly responsible that this is not, the society is not aware of the, you know, the vast numbers of people that suffer from chronic pain. But we're going to start slow and build momentum,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
society needs to learn.
They do. I really look forward to the day when we live in an informed society, whether it be chronic pain, whether it be trauma, even chronic illness, you know,
Yep.
anything that's invisible. It goes on and on. It's a large list, but anyway,
Yep.
okay. All right. One thing that I'm really excited about within the Change Pain Academy is Cwtch. So we have, when we first met, we talked about sort of what our visions were. You talked about what you were working towards, or what you always wanted to do. And it was, you already had the name picked out, and it is Cwtch. So can you explain to our listeners what that means and what Cwtch is?
Cwtch is a word, it's a real word. It's
Mhm.
a Welsh origin word. And I came across it probably 15 years ago. And it was in one of my scribbled handwritten notes. And what it means is um, a very special, safe, um, comforting place that's all yours, or a very meaningful embrace. So
Mhm.
not just any old hug, not just any old embrace. It's a very special, just for you kind of place. So I've hung on to that word all these years, always intending that, yes, that is what chronic pain warriors need. They need to find their own special place, their own place of safety and comfort and joy, hopefully.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, and I love you that you use the word safety too, because we cannot start to recover unless there is an element of safety in there.
Yes.
And community is really the way to go. Creating those meaningful connections. So well said. Okay. And if I can just add to it, you are and Michelle will be as well, mentoring people within our community. So that's exciting. I'm very excited about that. Okay.
I am as well. I have met so many interesting people this way, and two heads are better than one. 1,000 heads are better than 900. And
Absolutely.
I just think it's so important.
Yeah. And that's how the change is going to happen.
Yeah.
Honestly, that is how the change is going to happen. Those conversations, you learning about pain, you then changing pain, you then coaching others on how to do it as well. So,
Yeah. Can I just add one thing, Dina?
of
Sorry. We're
course.
probably running over time here, but
No, we're good.
one of the other big things that propelled me forward was um, late last year, I believe, the pain clinic that my pain doctor is associated with decided that we all had to attend a mandatory, at least what we were told or believed to be mandatory, 10-week, 2 hours a week virtual education program. And it was the most painful 10 weeks, 2 hours a week. I think I can speak for probably most, if not all, of the people that were in the class. We learned absolutely nothing. It was condescending. It was demeaning. It was 20-year-old science. It was nothing that I've watched from current pain researchers. But we all were under the understanding that if we did not attend those 10 weeks, we did not see our pain doctor. And there's nothing that strikes fear in the heart of a chronic pain warrior more than not being able to see their pain doctor. So we all attended, and I got held back after class, believe it or not. I got asked to remain online after class, and I was chastised by the two that led the group for asking questions that were too advanced.
Oh no.
And my question was, they were talking about pacing, which is another hot button word, by the way. We've all lived lives, managed careers and families, and like pacing is definitely a hot button word. But I said, that's all fine, well and good, but could you help me understand how to deal with the heartbreak of having to tell my 5-year-old grandson, no, grandma can only do that for 10 minutes. And I was held after class and told that was too advanced of a question.
Oh my gosh.
So the difference between those 10 painful weeks and watching Dr. Rachel and talking to you and working within the Change Pain Academy, it's light years different. Light years.
Oh, it just goes to show, and it makes me so sad that, and this is the model, this is the system, right? Yeah, Michelle's giving an angry face. She knows all about this. The system is set up in such a way that the insurance companies and the doctors prescribing, and even the pharmaceutical companies, which I worked for 10 years, have you under their influence. You can't make a decision without them. You can't get care without this. You can't do that. And it just is another example of how frustrating the system, how broken the system really is.
Yes.
So we need another solution. And I think this summit is just an attempt to bring that to the light. So
I just thought that was an important point, because I know many chronic pain warriors have sat through the same painful, useless information and felt demeaned and condescended and all of those negative emotions, which only makes the experience of pain worse.
And how dare you ask questions?
Exactly.
I can't believe you did that.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm not trying to bash the doctors and the nurses. it's just the system. That's broken. So yeah, unfortunately. This is the most exciting part of the evening. This is the one that I am so excited to bring about. And I'm so glad you ladies are here to witness this, because this is a big deal. In an effort To increase awareness about chronic pain, Barb has been working on an awesome initiative. And I am excited to say that you ladies are the first to hear it. So Barb, can you tell us, what are you working on right now?
Sure. I don't know why, but I started looking one day for a ribbon. I know why, because I'm a crafter and I make shadow boxes and cards and things like that. And I wanted to make a shadow box with the Chronic Pain Warrior awareness ribbon. And I searched and I searched and I searched. And I went to Wikipedia and I went all over the place. And there is no such thing as an awareness ribbon for chronic pain. Mm-hmm. There's lots of people who have chronic pain as a result of a single disease, but not many. Mm-hmm. There's lots of people that have chronic pain from a car accident, mm-hmm. from an industrial accident, from a combination of all of these things. Mm. Some people I know could wear a chest full of awareness ribbons, mm-hmm. but the theme that runs through all of those things is chronic pain.
Right.
So I and my creative, crafty mind started thinking about what would a chronic pain awareness ribbon look like. And it has to be strong. Mm-hmm. It has to demonstrate that chronic pain is hard, that there's a lot of ups and downs and twists and turns and frustrations. It has to indicate that all things matter when it comes to chronic pain. Mm-hmm. So I got macrame cord and I tied the ends. So this is chronic pain at its worst. And then I braided it, because a braid is much stronger than any thread or group of threads. So then I had this little braid that kind of goes like this, but that wasn't good enough for me. So I designed and had these pins made to go in the middle that I don't know if you can see.
Yeah.
They are just a W with the word warrior, and they go in the middle of the pin like this.
Yay! There it is.
This is the prototype. They're not available yet, but we need to make our society aware. Mm-hmm. We need people who are in chronic pain to wear these ribbons and wear them proudly. Yes. Because being a warrior is not easy. Yes. It's not for the faint of heart. It's tough, but be proud.
Yes. Yes.
I have one on for the first time tonight.
Yeah, girl. It's a big, big night. It's a big night.
So Chronic Pain Warriors, we now have an awareness ribbon. We just need to get it out there.
Yep. And we're doing our best to get that done, aren't we? Yeah. Well, you're doing most of the work. It just speaks beautifully to bit by bit, step by step, informing this society just a little bit more. Most importantly, informing our chronic pain community first, and then the rest will follow, right? And so why not do it with something that is a message of hope, strength, and context?
Yes.
Weaving everything
Absolutely.
together. Yeah. So well done.
I'm very happy with the way they turned out, and I hope to see one on all my chronic pain friends' coats.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So stay tuned, because we're just kind of working out the details how we get these out there. But yeah, we just wanted to share. And so there was a couple of thumbs up, and there was some hearts there. There was some love.
Good.
Yep.
I'm glad.
Way to go. All right. Now, just in the interest of time, thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. I know a lot of people are going to be excited about this. So where can our listeners find your blog and your Facebook?
As long as they're not too critical, remembering that I did the website myself. My website is findyourcwtch, CWTCH.ca. My Facebook group is Find Your Cwtch under Facebook.
Okay, and I will put those in the show notes so everyone will have access, to your content.
Oh, I have an email too, actually.
Oh,
Forgot about that.
Oh, yeah.
It's just findyourcwtch@gmail.com.
Okay. I'll put that in the show notes as well.
And
Okay.
we're all about finding our Cwtch for our chronic pain warriors, by warriors, for warriors.
Amazing. So if I could just clarify, Cwtch is a part of the Change Pain Academy. Cwtch is the community. So that is where we learn together, we grow together, we celebrate together, we share each other's wins. We don't moan and groan about the pain too much. We really just work on a safe space for the brain, for the body, for meaningful connections and all that good stuff. So, okay, Barb, before we wrap it up, is there any message you really want to end off our chat today for our listeners?
I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to speak as a warrior from my heart, honestly. I'm very grateful that fate brought us together.
Me too.
And that my passion project is breathing life. And let's do this.
Yes, what a great way to end up. Yay! All right, we've got hope, we've got possibilities, we've got chronic pain awareness coming up. Look out, world, here we come. There is a question here, and a couple of comments, if I might just read through them. Linda says, way to go, warriors and admins. Thank you, Linda, very much. Michelle says, without hope, we lose our ability to fight our challenges. Yes, Michelle, absolutely. Linda says, would you say chronic pain warriors are marginalized? Ooh, that's
absolutely,
a great question.
Yes.
I would agree, and I think Michelle would agree too. Yep. Yeah, I would absolutely agree. And that's partly coming from an uninformed society. People who don't necessarily understand what's going on. Sometimes unbeknownst to them are doing it, but
it also, so I've learned in this past week, it also comes from our own deep embedded that we don't even know is there, shame.
Right. Oh, shame. We could talk about shame for hours. Yes. Yes. One of the emotions we need to explore and understand so that we can work with it. Absolutely.
But that's why we're such great actors.
Yeah, it's true. Yes. Okay. And let me just make sure there's no other messages I'm missing. Linda says, excited to know about these resources to send people I meet who are suffering. Oh, that's fantastic. So we will be sharing tomorrow at 2, going live to sort of talk more about the Change Pain Academy. I'm not trying to hide anything. This is part of our dealio here is explaining more about what these resources are. I'll be recording as well. So if you can't make it for any reason, I will be sending that out as well. But thank you so much for being here, everybody. I really appreciate both Barb's and yeah, thank you so much, and ladies, for you guys coming out on a Thursday evening. So thank you so much. Yay!
Thank you, Dina.
You're so welcome.